Hey guys, this is Will at Cedardale Communications and welcome back to another video. On this one, we're going to be discussing the no contact rule. And specifically about this, we're going to look at what it is. We're going to give it a bit of a definition and to give you a bit more information on whether or not it's something that you yourself can use. And also if it works. So in other words, how to make it work. And before we get started, I'd like to go over a little bit of a fact with you guys. So, there was a researcher, Helen Fisher. Her and her group of colleagues used MRI scans to find out that romantic rejection or a breakup has very similar effects on people, especially the brain, as that of a drug addict suffering from withdrawal. So, that alone tells you how deep, how strong that emotional connection is. And when there's a break with your partner, with that emotional connection, how you might feel like everything is out of control. You might feel like your whole world is shaken up. So, what the no contact rule truly is just that. You don't talk to each other anymore. It's a time where you no longer respond to text messages, you don't respond to phone calls, you don't look for excuses to be going over to someone's house to accidentally bump into them in their favorite hangout. No more Facebook, no more anything, no more social media of any kind. And most importantly, no more calls for any special occasion or anything at all. So from now on, there are no birthdays, there are no family, no special occasions, no nothing. When you look at the no contact rule, it specifically is that you're treating someone as if they no longer exist or they've passed away. It becomes a bit of a grieving process, if you will. You've lost something very important in your life, or maybe not even something very important in your life, but it was something that was ever present. You always had that relationship, you always had that person around, and all of a sudden it's all gone. And believe you me, in good situations, as well as in very toxic situations, it's really hard to kind of deal with all that information, with all that change. It is a major shakeup in your life. There are a lot of things on the internet which tell you the no contact rule is a formula of months to weeks of how long your relationship lasted. None of that really matters in terms of what we're discussing here today. The way we look at it is, at least from the beginning, give yourself maybe like a month or so where if you need to grieve, you need to grieve, but it's a time where you need to kind of rebuild yourself to start moving on. So, whatever happens in those 30 days, there's no contact whatsoever. We'll get into the reasons why there is no contact whatsoever later on. We'll explain a little bit further why that has a deep value. And it's not necessarily just a power of you over someone else. It's not a manipulation, it's nothing else. It's a self-care tool, and you really need to jump on it. And I hope that it is something that you decide to grasp, because personal growth is one of the most important things we all need, especially if what you have in mind is getting your ex back. Take this time for you. Take this time as a favor that you've received to yourself, to build who you are, to improve who you are, and think of what it is you can do better. So I guess throughout this discussion now where we're at right now, we're going to look at when it is that you actually should be using the no contact rule. Now, keep in mind, this is a rule that works primarily, I'm going to say 99% of the time, 90% of the time, you use it when you are dumped. You're not the one who's doing the dumping. You're not the one who's putting the other person aside. When you're doing that, if it's a matter of disagreement, that you have cut off the relationship and you're looking at getting the upper hand, that's not a healthy tool to use. So when your partner says that they think we should be taking a break, or when they say this isn't working out, let's just remain friends, whenever your terms are no longer met and you're no longer part of the partnership, this is the time where you decide, well, I wasn't involved with you for the last 3 4 years as a friend. I was involved with you as a partner, as a romantic partner. We were building something. Now, the most important thing is the other person, the one who's doing the dumping, is someone who has completely checked out. Now, you may be on the fence saying, well, I need some, when they say that they need some time off, that this is an opportunity for you to jump in for grand gestures, something to remind them of how awesome you are. This is not the time to do it. When people need that break, people need to push you away. The more you try to break through that, the more you're going to encourage them to want to push you away even further. It can be a very hard exercise, especially when you really, really like the person and you've established that deep connection and you know that that other person has a connection to you. You need to be able to be strong enough to push back and to say, okay, fine, we're not talking. Give me a call whenever you're ready. Take your time. Because at the end of the day, your whole life is more than just that relationship. What happens is that you've gotten used to it. It's part of your life. But you yourself have other things to pursue. You have your hobbies, you have your work, you may be even looking at improving your life, your work life. Take that time to jump onto it. Take that time to build someone who's strong, someone who doesn't need anyone else's approval but their own. It's a very important tool to be able to rebuild your life and to refocus, because you've dedicated such a chunk of your life to someone else. You're getting that time back now. You're getting that opportunity now to be able to invest much more time into yourself and your pursuits. When you give yourself that break as well, you may realize at some point that the relationship itself was actually toxic. You may realize that you've spent way too much time trying to please the other person or living your life in accordance to the other person. Maybe the other person had so many activities that you were no longer able to invest your best time and your best self into what you want to pursue. Now, when you start building that life around yourself, you become even more and more attractive, more confident, more driven, more on purpose. Other people will notice that, and especially if your ex ever bumps into you for whatever reason, or reaches out to you after a month or so, they'll see a changed person. Now, when we look at does it work, we're taking part of that into the equation. So if you're looking at getting your ex back and your ex was the one who dumped you, having the conditions in there for the no contact rule to work is that you've actually had a relationship, you have a history. That allows the other person to look back at your relationship, and with the time and space that they've gotten, you always remember the past through rose-colored glasses. It's, what's the famous expression? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you have that kind of absence, you start to miss the person. You start to remember the things you've lived together, the funny moments, the special moments. And all of that leads the other person to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I screwed up. Maybe I shouldn't have broken up with a guy or the woman. And whenever you reestablish that reconnection, if the other person finally decides to reach out to you, the dumper reaches out to the dumpee. When they reach out to you and they meet you, they're going to see you got a lot going on. You just haven't been sitting around waiting for the other person to come. There's nothing that adds more pressure to someone else than you kind of having so many stakes in your life, so much pressure on them that I need you in my life. I want you in my life. It doesn't come from a place that's good. It comes from a place that's lacking. It's almost as if like the only thing you have to bring to the table is a dependence on someone else, and that's a heavy weight. That's why it's called a romantic partnership. That's why you're working together. It's not one person pulling everything, hauling everything, and the other person just sitting back and look, things are getting better. When you have the time to remember all the past, yourself as well, you may look at it through rose colored glasses, but you were also given the opportunity to have that space and to be able to decide, is this a relationship that I want to pursue? Or has the time off been good for me that now I want to carry on and find someone else? You'll often find that the break is something very positive in your life. It's something that has given you opportunity. And sometimes they've also given you the opportunity to realize that the relationship was just not for you. It was really hard in the beginning to make the change. But now that things have changed, you're also looking for something better. Your priorities are no longer the same. And especially you're looking for someone who's going to be committed in the long run. The most important thing we can realize is if situations like this happen often, in terms of you may be someone who gets a lot of feedback from a partner and a number of different partners throughout your life saying that they need their space, they need their time, it's a cue that you may also be doing something to put them off. I say this because when I was younger, I was always the people pleaser. I was always quite aggressive to make sure that everything was going well. And you need to have more certainty in your life. You need to have more balance and more purpose as well in yourself. When people see that you carry on with yourself, that you're someone who's independent, someone who doesn't need anyone else's approval, it adds more sexiness to yourself. It adds more power, more confidence, and more drive. And it puts you on focus in your own life. The most important thing about the no contact rule is do not use it as a revenge tool. Do not use it as they're going to miss me, I'm going to hurt them, and they're going to come begging back to be with me. You don't want that kind of relationship either. You want someone who out of the bottom of their heart really wants to share a life with you, wants to build something. You don't want someone who's going to be pussyfooting around and one week they're here, the next week they need space, the next week they're back in, but then after that, You have to realize that there are also people that are quite indecisive, but at the end of the day, the only person you can work on, the only person you can change is yourself. And you're in charge of your future, you're in charge of your destiny, and you can make great things happen. And because you can make great things happen, you should have someone by your side that's going to be there to celebrate with you, not someone who you have to worry about whether they're going to stick around or not. So, if this video is helpful to you, this information is helpful to you, feel free to drop us a like, feel free to get in touch with us, and as well as if you have any other comments, something that you'd like us to tackle in a future video, let us know. And we'll be happy to see what we can come up with. Now, wishing you all a really good day, and see you next time. Take care.